Welcome back to the Story for Kids, discovering the Bible from beginning to end. Chapter 13, The King Who Had It All. David was king for 40 years, and he did an excellent job leading Israel. He was getting very old, and it was time to hand over the kingdom to his son, Solomon. Before David died, he gave Solomon the plans for the temple and instructions to always obey God. Solomon was a very different king than David. The people lived in peace with all the nations around them. There were no more wars. Solomon made his kingdom great by using the wisdom God had given him. Solomon and Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, agreed to help each other, so Solomon married Pharaoh's daughter. He brought her to the city of David. She stayed there until he finished building his palace, the Lord's temple, and the wall around Jerusalem. But the people continued to offer sacrifices at the high places where they worshipped. That is because the temple hadn't been built yet where the Lord would put his name. Solomon showed his love for the Lord. He did it by obeying the laws his father David had taught him. But Solomon also offered sacrifices at the high places. He also burned incense there. King Solomon went to the city of Gibeon to offer sacrifices. That is where the most important high place was. There he offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar. The Lord appeared to Solomon at Gibeon. He spoke to him in a dream during the night. God said, "Ask for anything you want me to give you." Solomon answered, "You have been very kind to my father, David, your servant. That is because he was faithful to you. He did what was right. His heart was honest, and you have continued to be very kind to him. You have given him a son to sit on his throne this day. Lord my God, you have now made me king. You have put me in the high place of my father David, but I'm only a little child. I don't know how to carry out my duties. I'm here among the people you have chosen. They are a great nation. They are more than anyone can count. So give me a heart that understands. Then I can rule over your people. I can tell the difference between what is right and what is wrong. Who can possibly rule over this great nation of yours?" The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for that. So God said to him, "You have not asked to live for a long time. You have not asked to be wealthy. You have not even asked to have your enemies killed. Instead, you have asked for wisdom. You want to do what is right and fair when you judge people, because that is what you have asked for. I will give it to you. I will give you a wise and understanding heart. So here is what will be true of you. There has never been anyone like you, and there will never be. And that is not all. I will give you what you have asked for. I will give you wealth and honor. As long as you live, no other king will be as great as you are. Live the way I want you to. Obey my laws and commands, just as your father David did. Then I will let you live for a long time." Solomon woke up. He realized he had been dreaming. He returned to Jerusalem. He stood in front of the ark of the Lord's covenant. He sacrificed burnt offerings and friendship offerings. Then he gave a feast for all his officials. God made Solomon very wise. His understanding couldn't even be measured. It was like the sand on the seashore. People can't measure that either. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East. It was greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. Solomon was constantly thinking of wise things that people needed to know. Many of his wise sayings are included in the book of the Bible called Proverbs. Here is some of what he wrote. Proverbs teach you wisdom and instruct you. They help you understand wise sayings. They provide you with instructions and help you wisely, and help you live wisely. They lead to what is right and honest and fair. They give understanding to childless people. They give knowledge and good sense to those who are young. If you really want to gain knowledge, you must begin by having respect for the Lord. But foolish people hate wisdom and instruction. My son, do not forget my teaching. Keep my commands in your heart. They will help you live for many years. They will bring you peace and success. Don't let the love and truth ever leave you. Tie them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will find favor and a good name in the eyes of the God and people. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. In all your ways obey him. Then he will make your paths smooth and straight. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Have respect for the Lord and avoid evil. That will bring health to your body. It will make your bones strong. Honor the Lord with your wealth. Give him the first share of all your crops. The Lord trains those he loves. He is like a father who trains the son he is pleased with. There is gold and there is plenty of rubies, but lips that speak knowledge are a priceless jewel. Food gained by cheating tastes sweet, but you will end up with a mouth full of gravel. Those who are careful about what they say keep themselves out of trouble. No wisdom, wise saying, or plan can succeed against the Lord. You can prepare a horse for the day of battle, but the power to win comes from the Lord. King Solomon was the king entrusted to build God's temple. For 7 years, thousands of men cut logs, melted gold, and sculpted furniture to complete the temple. It was a huge, impressive palace where God could be worshipped. After the temple was finished, Solomon asked all the leaders in Israel to come and bring the Ark of the Covenant. Once the Ark was in place, God entered the temple, making it the official place to worship him. Then Solomon stood in front of the Lord's altar. He stood in front of the whole community of Israel. He spread out his hands toward heaven. He said, "Lord, you are the God of Israel. There is no God like you in heaven above or on the earth below. You keep the covenant you made with us. You show us your love. You do that when we follow you with all our hearts. You've kept your promise to my father David. He was your servant. With your mouth you made a promise. With your powerful hand you made it come true. And today we can see it. But will you really live on earth? After all, the heavens can't hold you. In fact, even the highest heavens can't hold you. So this temple I've built certainly can't hold you. But please pay attention to my prayer. Lord, my God, be ready to help me as I make appeal to you. Listen to my cry for help. Hear the prayer I'm praying to you today. Let your eyes look toward the temple day and night. You said, I will put your name here. So please listen to the prayer I'm praying toward this place. Hear me when I ask you to help us. Listen to your people Israel when they pray toward this place. Listen to us from heaven. It's the place where you live. When you hear us, forgive us. My God, let your eyes see us. Let your ears pay attention to the prayers offered in this place. Lord God, rise up and come to your resting place. Come in together with the ark. It's the sign of your power. Lord God, may your priests put on salvation as if it were clothes. May your faithful people be glad because you are so good. Lord God, don't turn your back on your anointed king. Remember the great love you promised to your servant David. Solomon finished praying. Then the fire came down from heaven. It burned up the burnt offerings and the sacrifices. The glory of the Lord filled the temple. The priests couldn't enter the temple of the Lord because his glory filled it. All the Israelites saw the fire coming down. They saw the glory of the Lord above the temple. So they got down on their knees in the courtyard with their faces toward the ground. They worshipped the Lord. They gave thanks to him and said, "The Lord is good. His faithful love continues forever." Solomon built other things besides the temple. He built ships, palaces, huge stables, and even an entire city. He made money by trading goods with people, and he shared his wisdom. He was the richest and most famous king in all the world. People from around the world came in Jerusalem to meet him. The Queen of Sheba heard about how famous Solomon was. She also heard about how he served and worshipped the Lord. So he came to test Solomon with hard questions. She arrived in Jerusalem with a very large group of attendants. Her camels were carrying spices, huge amounts of gold, and valuable jewels. She came to Solomon and asked him about everything she wanted to know. Solomon answered all her questions. There wasn't anything too hard for the king to explain to her, so the Queen of Sheba saw how very wise Solomon was. She saw the palace he had built. She said to the king, "Back in my own country, I heard a report about you. I heard about how much you had accomplished. I also heard about how wise you were. Everything I heard is true, but I didn't believe those things, so I came to see for myself. And now, I believe it. You are twice as wise and wealthy as people say you are. The report I heard doesn't even begin to tell the whole story about you. How happy your people must be. How happy your officials must be. They always get to serve you and hear the wise things you say. May the Lord your God be praised. He takes great delight in you. He placed you on the throne of Israel. The Lord will love Israel for all time to come. That is why he has made you king. He knows that you will do what is fair and right." The Queen of Sheba came to Jerusalem because Solomon was very wise and loved God. But later Solomon started doing some very unwise things. He started worshiping idols instead of God. The Lord became angry with Solomon. That is because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel. He had appeared to Solomon twice. He had commanded Solomon not to worship other gods, but Solomon didn't obey the Lord. So the Lord said to Solomon, You have chosen not to keep my covenant. You have decided not to obey my rules. I commanded you to do what I told you, but you did not do it. So you can be absolutely sure I will tear the kingdom away from you. I will give it to one of your officials, but I will not do that while you are still living. Because of your father David, I will wait. I will tear the kingdom out of your son's hand, but I will not tear the whole kingdom away from him. I will give him one of the tribes because of my servant David. I will also do it because of Jerusalem. That is the city I have chosen. Number 1. If you could ask God for anything in the world, what would you ask him for? Why would you ask for this? Number 2. What are your favorite things to learn about? Things like math, science, languages, art, music, sports. What makes them interesting to you? Number 3. Solomon had a temple built for God. What could you build or make to show God how important he is to you?